If I held a competition for the most main character looking characters in a power fantasy genre, I'd expect to see someone like Sung Jinwoo and his army of clones. Look, that's Sung Jinwoo's cousin. Most people under the age of 17 would agree that these guys have aura, and they probably look like their favorite K-pop idol. So if I had a list of main character tropes, someone as bland as Sung Jinwoo would check all the squares. Unlike the main character of today's video, someone who looks nothing like these Korean Batmans, and honestly, you might even mistake him for a villain at first. And what if I tell you that these guys are nothing against him? You can find some pretty good manhwas in any genre you like: comedy, romance, delinquent, action, fantasy, or even the special genre of today's video, manhwas designed for gamers who love leveling up through this gaming tab. Speaking of gaming tabs, here's a word from a sponsor, Opera GX. I'm kidding. No one's sponsoring me. So here we are, gaming tab manhwas, also known as lit RPG. Most of the time you can find them in power fantasies, but you can see them in any other genre as well. It doesn't always have to be power fantasy action manhwa, because there are a lot of manhwas with this gaming tab in them. And if you know, you know. Oh shit. Two of the oldest manhwas I can think of that had this weird little pop-up window are these two, The Gamer and The Dice. Starting with the first one, it's about a gamer. Look, what do you want to say? The second one is about another loser protagonist who gets to level up and become a Chad and get all the bitches and become strong through the power of the gaming tab. But the manhwa that I believe mostly popularized this weird box was solo leveling. You don't need me to tell you about solo leveling. I believe you already know what's it about. But just in case you don't know anything about it, it is about another loser protagonist who gets to level up and become a Chad and get all the bitches and become strong through the power of the gaming tab. And with the rise in solo leveling's popularity, a new era began. As if solo leveling was some kind of genre-defining manhwa. It's a comment, bait. Go on. And so many manhwa protagonists try to be a cheap clone of Sung Jinwoo. No personality whatsoever, emo as f***, and purple aura, baby! So basically, isekai 2. But the question is, what if you mix these two? Gaming tab brain rot with isekai brain rot. The combination seems to be a recipe for launchly. I mean shit. But this manhwa somehow managed to prove otherwise and become one of the best things I've read. I present to you one of the funniest manhwas of all time that has one of the best protagonists ever, the greatest estate developer. The story is about Suho Kim, an engineering student who falls asleep while reading a fictional novel, only to wake up in the body of Lord Frontera, one of the existing characters of the novel he was reading last night. This is yet another occurring theme / genre in manhwas that I don't really know what it's called. I'm talking about when a random person gets to live as a fictional character. It is like a subgenre of isekai, and I'd love to talk more in depth about it, but it has to wait for a future video. Lloyd Frontera in the novel was one of the worst characters ever. Everyone was scared of him because he is the arrogant son of the Lord. Everyone would avoid him because they knew they'd be in trouble if they even made eye contact. So the message is clear. Suho Kim is now stuck in this body and have to figure out how to clean up Lloyd's mess. But that's not all. Having read the novel, Suho Kim knows about the misfortune awaiting his family. The simplicity of the story actually serves the plot pretty well. I found myself laughing most of the times, but at critical moments, the manhwa proved it has so much more to offer. Going back to our misfortunate main character, we'll see that he was lucky enough to get another chance at life, but unlucky enough to live as Lloyd, the most hideous looking character you'll ever gaze upon. Knowing he cannot live the rest of his life like this, which isn't that long of a life, Suho decides to change stuff. Because he was an architect in his past life, he realizes a lot can be improved in this town. So he immediately starts working in Lloyd's frail body. You can imagine working day and night in a lazy body that never had any heavy physical activities can be pretty damn tiring, but this man is on that grind. With this webtoon's in-universe logic, this guy checks every single criterion of a perfect main character, because Javier literally is the MC of the novel. Perfect body, handsome as fuck, OP as fuck, emotionless as fuck, and he gets bit left and right. Javier is a personal bodyguard of Lloyd Frontera because Lloyd's father saved Javier when he was a kid or something, so now he serves the Frontera family even though he also hates Lloyd. But after Lloyd's sudden transition into being a decent human, Javier would be the first person to catch on this weird change. From an outside perspective, the scum of Earth who look down upon everyone is now suddenly working for a better future. Lloyd's actions really confuse Javier because Lloyd always says he does all these hard labors just so he can earn money, but most of the time the lengths Lloyd is willing to go to finish the job doesn't really seem worth it. And I just have to talk about the bromance between these two, but I won't spoil the fun. Okay, so our main character is a little kind and heroic, so what of it? Well, that is exactly what Lloyd wants you to think. Somehow he manages to make the reader question the story they're reading, like, is he actually a good guy? What the f is his deal? And how can this guy be one of the best isekai MCs? I will be honest, when I saw a picture of this webtoon for the first time, I thought he was a villain. But not only his looks, his actions are also evil. But like a good kind of evil. This is genuinely one of my favorite manhwas. I didn't know I could audibly laugh at a manhwa until I started reading The Greatest Estate Developer. There are so many different characters with hilarious interactions, even having their own subplot that I still think is the funniest I've ever read. This is cinema. On the surface, it might seem like this manhwa has a generic fantasy world, something we've seen a lot before. That is true to some extent, but the real thing that makes this world so entertaining is the level of attention the author has put into each tribe and species. It's so amusing and bizarre that I can just tell how much the author had fun writing these characters. Whether it's the orc tribe or the elves or these high-end racing centaurs, they all have their charm and uniqueness, and it's just enough to make this world stand out. Somehow I managed to yap for about 7 minutes without talking about the best girl, the queen herself with her weird kink of smacking Lloyd's butt. I mean, he had it coming because of how much he talks out of his ass, but don't we all love a red-haired girl mommy who looks down upon us but then accepts us as equals? But the cherry on top is definitely Lloyd with his shenanigans. The way he acts around people just to get what he wants is so shameless, yet weirdly charismatic. Like seriously, you can't tell me he doesn't have aura. It's a weird one, but still, this guy has so much aura that every time he manipulates people, I just can't help but to be amused and think, damn, he's the devil reincarnate. This manhwa has so much going on in it, and it manages to stay entertaining throughout the entire series. Just watching Lloyd do his stuff and successfully scam everyone is weirdly fulfilling? Satisfying? Yeah, that's the word. And I think among all these generic isekai characters, Lloyd is genuinely one of the most entertaining ones that can always make you laugh. And I'm not gonna oversell this manhwa, but every other aspect of this manhwa besides Lloyd is also done tastefully. Good characters and a fun chemistry between them, decent art style that manages to stay pretty consistent, an engaging story that never makes you feel bored, and combined with a perfect main character, making this manhwa one of my highly recommended webtoons ever. If I convinced you to read this manhwa, I really hope you enjoy it. And also, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.